Hello, boys and girls friend. It's Miss Joanne, and I am in the Arctic this evening. So I'm glad that you're joining us, and I'm so happy to be here with you all. I hope you all are staying healthy and safe and having a great summer. We are so glad that we can bring you these videos, but let me encourage you to lock in with us on some of our Zoom videos. That way we can have some interaction with us, and you can tell us what you think of some of these videos and what we're doing. So today, like I said, we are in the polar regions. So it's awfully cold there, and so I'm all dressed for that cold weather. Now let's talk about really what are the polar regions. So that includes the Arctic, or what we know is the North Pole, and the Antarctic, which we know is the South Pole. Now both regions are extremely cold and covered in snow, but the similarities really stop there. There are many, many differences. For example, the North Pole, or the Arctic, is actually a frozen ocean, the Arctic Ocean, surrounded by land on the very top of many countries like Sweden and Norway and Russia. So that is what our Arctic region is. Now, our South Pole region is actually a landmass that is covered in snow. It is an actual continent, but it is not a country that belongs to anyone. Now, the differences are many, many, many. For example, on our North Pole, or our Arctic region, there are people that actually live in that area. There are very many indigenous people, Inuits and Eskimos that live there. They actually have a summertime. Now it's a short summer, it's not like ours, but they do have plants that grow, and even some flowers that grow, and even the coats of some of the animals like the Arctic fox get darker in this summer. Also, there's a lot of different animals that live up in the polar region of the Arctic because they are able to live there. So you might see polar bears and oxen, and you might see reindeer, you might see wolves, snowy owls, walrus, beluga whales. They all live in that area. Now, down at the South Pole, or the Antarctic, there are really no people that live there except for some scientists, because it gets really, really cold, and it's really, really dry. It's actually a desert. So it's actually surrounded by a really, really cold sea also. Temperatures can get like negative 170. I mean, that's like temperatures we can't even imagine. So the only animals that live down there are the sea animals. So you will see things like your whales. You might see walruses that live down there in the waters, beluga whales. The only animal that can live on the land would be a penguin. Penguins can live down there. Now, we also can talk about how there are towns and people up in our North Polar region, whereas there are no real people except for scientists. Now, one of the things you might see are icebergs. Now, icebergs are really just big pieces of ice that have broken off glaciers or ice caps. So what you'll see is a big piece of ice sticking out of the water. But in all actuality, it's floating. Remember we talked about density? So it's floating, and most of that is underneath the water. So today, we're going to see how that looks. So Miss Joanne has her Arctic Ocean right here, and I brought my own iceberg. Now my iceberg is just a big clump of ice, but regardless, let's take a look about what an iceberg might look like. So here we go. So this might be, if you were looking, you might see just the very tip of an iceberg, whereas underneath, there'd be a lot of ice. So that's what kind of an iceberg might look like. Now, when we talk about some of the animals that live in the Arctic, we kind of wonder, how can they live up there? And how could you actually swim in the ocean? Can you imagine swimming in an ocean where there is tons of ice, and how unbelievably cold it might be? So we're going to do a little experiment. Now, one of the ways that animals like whales in particular are able to stay in these cold temperatures is they have what's called blubber. Now, blubber is a kind of fat that is just underneath the skin of those animals. So we're going to do a little experiment today. I'm going to move some of my ice over into another bowl here. Now, we can be assured that this water is pretty cold. Not as cold as the Arctic, but it's pretty cold. So what I brought today was some Crisco. Now, Crisco is a kind of fat that you might cook with, you might, put chicken or fry something with. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take a Ziploc bag, and I am going to put some of that Crisco, or that fat, or that blubber, in my bag. So
So I'm going to scoop that back into that bag, just like that. So blubber keeps a number of animals warm so that they can survive. So I've got my blubber in my bag. I'm going to zip it up, kind of flatten it out a little bit, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to take my second Ziploc bag. I'm going to put my hand in it because we're going to test and see if it actually works. Is this fat or this blubber? Can it keep my hand warm while I've got it in the ice? So here I go. I am putting my hand in there. Now, if I would put my hand in here, I could probably keep it in that ice for a few minutes before it really kind of started hurting. So let's see. I'm going to put my hand with the blubber around it into the ice water. Wow, you really can't even feel the ice. It doesn't feel cold at all. I guess that's how it works for a lot of those animals in the Arctic and the Antarctic. Why don't you guys try this at home and let me know what you think? It really does keep my hand warm. So blubber certainly does work for those animals. All right, boys and girls, I'm glad that you joined us today. And the next time you come back, we will be back in the polar regions. Have a good one.